And in a plan that could benefit highly skilled Indian workers, US President Donald Trump has proposed a merit-based immigration system, but the plan also prevents Indians from sponsoring their extended families. The move is part of an aggressive plan which President Trump said will serve national interest. So new plan involves merit-based immigration system that will be beneficial for skilled Indians. Highly skilled Indians stand to gain more after this plan is put in place. President Trump of US has said the plan will serve the national interest of United States of America as well. However, there was no reference to H-1B visas, the most sought after by Indian IT professionals. In the proposal which Mr. Trump has sent to Congress, besides overhauling the country's green card system, Trump administration's wish list also includes the funding of a controversial border wall along the US-Mexico border and a crackdown on unaccompanied minors entering the country. The move to establish a merit-based immigration system could benefit highly skilled Indian immigrants, especially those from IT sector. However, the new policies would badly impact those thousands of Indian Americans who want to bring in their family members to the US, particularly parents. The demands were denounced by Democratic leaders in Congress who had hoped to forge a deal with Mr. Trump to protect younger immigrants known as Dreamers who were brought to the US illegally as children. And speculation that former RBI Governor Raghuram Rajan could win the Nobel Prize for Economics turned out to be just that, speculation. The winner is American economist Richard Thaler for behavioral economics. Take a look at the story.
The Sveriges Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel to Richard H. Thaler.
Richard Thaler, a professor at the University of Chicago's Booth School of Business, is the winner of this year's Nobel Prize for Economics. He's been awarded for his work in behavioral economics. The Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences said Thaler's contributions have built a bridge between the economic and psychological analysis of individual decision-making. The Academy said Thaler's work has had a profound impact on many areas of economic research and policy. Thaler talked about helping people exercise better self-control, like for saving for something important. He is cited for avoiding marketing tricks that result in bad economic decisions. His theory of mental accounting helped people simplify financial decision-making.
Well, I think the most important impact is the recognition that economic agents are human and that economic models have to incorporate that.
Behavioral economics studies the effects of psychological, social, cognitive and emotional factors on decisions of individuals or institutions, and the consequences for market prices, returns and resource allocation. Thaler will receive a prize of more than $1 million.
Thaler has given us new insights into how human psychology shapes decision-making. He has devised new experimental tools to investigate human behavior. His research has spawned a new field, behavioral economics, and he has shown how policies based on insights from this field can help people make better decisions. He's made economics more human.
The economics prize, called the Sveriges Riksbank Prize in Economic Sciences in memory of Alfred Nobel, was established in 1968. It was not part of the original group of awards. Bureau Report, WION.
And Richard Thaler had a word of advice for individual stock players. He says they should not invest directly in the market. Let's listen in to him.
Well, I mean, most people's biggest problem with saving for retirement is they just don't do enough of it. Individual investors should not be buying and selling individual securities.
They should not be buying and selling stocks?
Not in my opinion.
Why?
Because professionals can't beat the market. Why should individuals think they can?
And moving on to Britain now, UK Prime Minister Theresa May has set out post-Brexit options for Britain on how it could operate as an independent trading nation, even if no trade deal is brokered with the European Union. Addressing the House of Commons, Prime Minister May said a real and tangible progress has been made in the Brexit talks. The Prime Minister also confirmed that Britain would remain subject to the rulings of the European Court of Justice during the two-year transition period after Britain leaves the European Union in March 2019. In her first address to the House of Commons since her Florence speech last month, PM May reiterated her call for a deep and special partnership between a sovereign UK and the European Union. She added that she is optimistic that Britain would receive a positive response from the European Union regarding the divorce proceedings.
We want our departure from the EU to be as smooth as possible. It wouldn't make sense to make people and businesses plan for two sets of changes in the relationship between the UK and the EU. Second, we should concentrate on negotiating time and capital on what really matters, the future long-term relationship we will have with the EU after this temporary period ends. During the implementation period, people will continue to be able to come and live and work in the UK, but there will be a registration system, an essential preparation for the new immigration system required to retake control of our borders. And our intention is that new arrivals will be subject to new rules for EU citizens on long-term settlement.
However, the European Commission has hit back at Prime Minister May's comments, warning May that her government still has more work to do before the Brexit deal can be struck.
There is a clear sequencing to these talks, and there has been so far no solution found on step one, which is the divorce proceedings. So the ball is entirely in the UK court.
And continuing with Brexit news, in a meeting with top UK business leaders on Brexit issue yesterday, PM May has assured them they could be certain about a two-year transition period after Britain's exit from the European Union. Yesterday, she met the business leaders on Brexit. She has assured two-year Brexit transition to business leaders who were not sure about the environment as far as business was concerned. The business chiefs from GlaxoSmithKline, Vodafone, they were part of meet yesterday. HSBC and other major companies, they were also part of the meeting which PM May had yesterday. Businesses have been alarmed by slow Brexit negotiations, and yesterday's this meeting has assured them that all things will be good going forward. PM May is trying to ease company concerns that Britain could crash out of EU without a deal. Reports say almost all business leaders expressed concern about access to talent after Brexit, and several of them told May that investment cycle means there are decisions coming at the end of 2017 and the start of 2018. UK businesses are alarmed by the prospect that Britain could leave the trading bloc EU without a new trading arrangement in place in 2019. Yesterday's meeting was attended by scores of business leaders, but UK's, we can say, government officials were also present in the meeting. That included UK Finance Minister Philip Hammond, UK's Trade and Commerce Minister and Exit Minister too. Business chiefs previously complained that their voice has been drowned out by disagreement and division in the government, and they have not heard anything to give them the certainty they need to plan and invest in their businesses. And India has a new friend for its oil needs. The first supply of crude oil has arrived from the US at the Paradip port in India's east coast. But this is bothering Iran, India's long-time oil supplier. Here is a report.
India's major oil needs are being met from OPEC, the cartel of 14 oil-producing nations. OPEC accounts for 86% of the country's crude oil needs, but there's a new player challenging this monopoly. India has got its first shipment of crude oil from the United States. Oil Minister Dharmendra Pradhan wasted no time in telling OPEC that Delhi has more options and won't hesitate in exploring them.
We expect a reasonable price. We know for the continuous production, there must be price stability. Price stability must be also in interest of consumer. That's the consistent stand India is taking.
For one, American oil is cheaper, saving India $2 per barrel. Among the first to react was Iran, India's third largest oil supplier.
Resolution 2231 of the United Nations and also Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And you know, the process of negotiations between Iran and 5+1, I think that these kind of efforts and these orientations or political orientations are not constructive.
Iran's displeasure isn't hard to understand. India's move not only cuts Tehran's oil revenues, it also limits its access to US dollars, further isolating it from global economic activity. India has significantly cut its oil supplies from Iran in recent months. Tehran has retaliated by withdrawing certain concessions to Indian refiners. But India is a market it doesn't want to lose, least of all to Trump's America.
With the major exporters of oil and gas, especially Iran, which is one of the giant exporters through the OPEC organization, and we do believe that India and Iran can have and can improve their relationships despite the pressures that can be posed from different types of players, especially the United States or the European countries. And Iran looks at the exploitation of oil more economically than from the political perspective.
Dropping oil prices continue to hurt OPEC nations. Added competition in the international market is pushing prices lower still, well below $60 a barrel, a price that hurts the shrinking profits of Gulf nations. Bureau Report, WION.
And news from India, where a day after meeting PM Modi of India, oil companies, most of them global oil majors, have promised investments running into lakhs of crores of rupees as they sought a number of energy sector reforms, including unified gas pricing, inclusion of oil and gas in the goods and services tax regime, and a gas tariff regulatory board. The meeting also came at a time India is seeking more investment for capital boosting and job creation. The heads of more than 20 oil and gas companies and other entities met PM Modi yesterday and suggested at least half a dozen other policy initiatives to make investments more attractive in the country's growing energy sector. Now, with the focus on predictability and sanctity of contracts, CEOs that met yesterday included CEOs and top officials from Rosneft, BP, Reliance Industries, Saudi Aramco, ExxonMobil, Royal Dutch Shell, Vedanta, IHS Markit, and Indian oil and gas giants included Indian Oil Corporation, GAIL, Petronet, Oil India, Hindustan Petroleum, and other companies from India. The companies have promised investments of millions of dollars already. And news from the tech world, where times are not right for Apple. Its new products are facing a backlash, beginning with the Watch Series 3 and now the new iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus. Take a look at this report.
It's been a few weeks since Apple's new iPhones, the iPhone 8 and the iPhone 8 Plus, went on sale, and users are complaining of swollen batteries where the body of the phone is bulging out. Complaints have come from users in China, Japan, Taiwan, Greece and Canada who've taken to social media, even sharing pictures of faulty iPhones with swollen batteries. While some users say the issue of bloated batteries came after using the phone for a few days, others say their brand new phones were found cracked as the boxes were opened. Some even complained of the problem after charging the phone overnight. It could be a case of faulty batteries, but there's no clarity yet. Apple has acknowledged the issue and says, quote, "We're aware and looking into it," end quote. It's a crisis situation for Apple, given that the flagship iPhone X launch is scheduled for early next month. Bureau Report, WION.
Forex, highest in the world, have climbed further. Its reserves rose for the 8th month in a row to over $3.1 trillion in September as pressure from capital outflow eased. So reserves have climbed to $3.1 trillion as far as China's forex reserves are concerned. And in forex reserves, they have increased by $16.98 billion last month. Reserves had shown gain of $10.81 billion in August. And China's gold reserves, though, have come down to $76.01 billion. In January, the forex reserve plunged below $3 trillion, but as the economy stands on a firmer footing and yuan continues to stabilize, the stockpile has increased steadily since February. It was the first time that reserves climbed for the 8 months in a row since June 2014, bringing the total to its highest level since October 2016. The world's State Administration of Foreign Exchange said economic growth has remained stable in China and sound since the beginning of the year, and the yuan has appreciated steadily, while cross-border capital flows stayed stable, which contributed to the forex reserve's gradual rebound. Consumption services and new innovation-driven economic sectors are taking up larger roles in the economy, prompting global institutions such as the International Monetary Fund (IMF) to raise GDP forecast for China.